Hey everyone, so I want to tell you a story. Let's say you're at the rental car counter after a really long flight. You've barely slept, you just want the keys, and they hit you with, do you want to add the collision waiver? It's only $34.99 a day. You hesitate, right? Because you think you already covered, but you're not totally sure. And the last thing you want is to find out later that you weren't. That's exactly what this video is for. I went through and actually used 4 of the most talked about travel insurance options that include rental car protection. Not just to see what they promise, but to figure out what actually happens when something goes wrong. Because when your rental gets backed into or broken into or stops working out in the middle of the desert, the last thing you want is a bunch of fine print standing between you and getting home. All right, so first up, I used Faye on a week-long trip through Oregon. I added the rental coverage a few days before the flight. Never thought I'd actually need it until day 4, when I walked back to the car and found the rear window shattered. Nothing stolen, thank God, but like glass everywhere. The kind of damage no one ever plans for, but someone has got to pay for. So I opened the Faye app, filed a claim in about 10 minutes, and soon after, the money was in my Apple Wallet. I didn't have to call anyone, there were no forms or arguments. It worked the way you hope insurance will, but it usually never does. Faye gives you up to $50,000 in primary coverage through their rental car add-on. That means they pay first, not your personal insurance, and it covers collision, theft, vandalism, natural disasters, even admin fees from the rental agency. But the big one, there's no deductible at all. Not a reduced rate, not a credit back later, $0 out of pocket. Coverage costs a little under $8 a day in most states, $7 if you're in California, and you can choose exactly which days and which vehicle you want to cover. So if you're only renting for a weekend, you're only paying for that weekend. What makes it stand out though is how it fits into everything else. You can manage rental coverage through the same app you're already using for your travel insurance, and if your car breaks down or your plans get delayed, you're covered for up to $200 per event, or $600 total, for things like extra hotels, meals, or backup transport. So I gotta say, I was seriously impressed with Faye. It doesn't just seem good, it really does work when something goes wrong. And just so you know, if you are thinking about trying out Faye for yourself, there's an affiliate link down in the description and in the comments. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does help support the channel. Most of the time, those links will include better rates than what you find on their main site. Okay, now for a short work trip to Florida, I tested Allianz rental coverage. It was just 3 days in and out, and what I liked right away is you don't need to buy one of their big travel plans to get it. It's a standalone product. You check the box, pay once, and you're covered. Similar to Faye, you get up to $50,000 in primary coverage for collision, loss, and damage. So if something happens, fender bender, scratch bumper, whatever, Allianz steps in directly. Your personal auto insurance doesn't get touched. Pricing-wise, it's a flat $11 a day. Doesn't matter what you're renting, how long, what type of car, there's no coverage charts here. You pay, you print the confirmation, you move on. And it does come with a couple of cool extras. If your trip ever gets interrupted or your bags go missing, you're covered for up to $1,000 for each. That's not full travel insurance, obviously, but if you're not buying anything else, it's a nice bit of padding. Now, I didn't end up needing to file a claim, but I did test their support just to see. I called them in the middle of the night, got someone to talk to in like 2 minutes. You can get help in multiple languages as well, which makes it more dependable if you're traveling overseas. So it's not the cheapest and it's not the most flexible, but for some trips, it's exactly enough and nothing more. Then for a longer trip through New Mexico and Arizona, I tried AIG Travel Guard, rented a car for 10 days, and built the rental protection into one of their main travel plans. What stood out is how involved they are when something goes wrong. You're not left figuring things out on your own. There's full 24/7 roadside assistance, help getting you a tow, alternate transport, even getting the car returned to the agency if you can't drive it back yourself. If you're somewhere rural or you just want to know someone's handling the logistics, that's where AIG really works. Now, coverage ranges between $35,000 to $50,000 depending on the base plan, and again, it's primary, so they deal with the claim, not your personal insurance. But it does come with a $250 deductible. That's non-negotiable. And you can't even really get a clear quote without plugging in your full trip details, which is kind of annoying, and pricing is going to vary. But the roadside help really was solid. They didn't just give me a number to call, they actually checked in and followed up after. But everything here feels a little more traditional, old school. They got a system, you either work within it or like not at all. So AIG makes the most sense if you want that personal backup. But if you're looking for price control, fast claims, app-based anything, this probably ain't it. All right, last up is Bonzah, which I used during a short rental in Chicago. And they specialized in low-cost rental car protection, so I wanted to see if it'd be a real alternative. And technically Bonzah gives you primary coverage up to $35,000, but I mean, that number only tells you like half the story. The actual protection is limited to just collision damage. There's no coverage for theft, vandalism, weather, mechanical issues, and no help with administrative fees or breakdowns, which means if your rental gets stolen, keyed, or dies on you mid-trip, you're kind of on your own. They also exclude a huge range of vehicles: high-performance cars, anything over 100K, classic cars, moving trucks, motorcycles, anything used for rideshare. None of it is covered. So even if the price looks good, there's a decent chance your car won't even qualify. And by the way, the pricing I've seen is, it's all over the place. I've seen daily rates as low as $7, but as high as $22, depending on the car, state, and options. Plus, there's a deductible that can run up to $1,000. Though I have heard some people mention $500, that's a lot of cash to not know if you'll have to pay up front. Because the idea here is saving money, but between the exclusions, the gap in coverage, the deductible, Bonzah's just feeling like a risky bet, especially when there are better options that cost less and protect more. Okay, so after having used all four, here's how I'd go about picking between them. If you just want the absolute easiest option, no choices to make, one flat rate and you're done, Allianz is solid. It covers what it says it will, and you never have to think about it again. If your priority is that human safety net, knowing someone will help you at 2 a.m. when you break down in the middle of nowhere, then AIG makes sense. You'll pay a little more and lose some flexibility, but you're getting that support. If price is your only concern, Bonzah might look appealing, but between the exclusions, the variable rates, and the high deductible, it's just not something I'd personally recommend unless I had no other options, which is why Faye is the one I actually trust. You get real coverage, up to $50K with zero deductible, and it's built to be flexible. You only pay for the days you need, the claims process actually works, and everything runs through the same app you're already using for your trip. It's the only one I've had to use after real damage, and I didn't have to freak out or try to fix it myself. I popped into a cafe that was nearby, had some lunch. By the time my food came out, the claim was filed. That's just special. And if you're thinking about checking out Faye for yourself, like I said, there's that link in the description with the best available rates. It usually has discounts that don't show up on their main site, so feel free to take a look if that sounds like a good fit. Also, if you're interested in working with us or sponsoring a future video, just reach out using the email in the description below. Hopefully, this helped make your next trip a little smoother, and if it did, thumbs up is always appreciated. If you got any questions or you got a weird rental story of your own, feel free to drop it in the comments below. I always try to get back to as many as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.